All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Mia Medina, and I'm the Senior Program Manager for No Kid Hungry Texas. I am really excited to have you all here today. We're going to be talking about boosting participation through expert menu planning. And we have three lovely participants with us today from all around the country. And you may be wondering, why boosting participation with expert menu planning? But really, this was because of feedback from you all. So we heard from a lot of folks that you all were interested in sharing recipes and knowing what does really well, and also how to plan for summer meal service. So we're really excited to chat about that today. Next slide. Just a few housekeeping notes. This slide deck will be shared via email after the webinar, along with the recording as well. If you want to engage with other attendees, please do use the chat box, and we will be monitoring the chat box as well. If you have any questions for the speakers, please enter those in the Q&A box so we can get those answered during Q&A, hopefully. And also, closed captioning is available. If you need closed captioning, you can actually go to the Show Captions button at the bottom of your screen. Next slide. So here's our agenda for today. We are going to do some introductions. We'll hear from three lovely speakers, and then we'll do some Q&A. So get those questions ready as you're listening to our speakers, and feel free to put those in the Q&A box. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Olivia Smart, who is a dietitian in Bozeman. So take it from here, Olivia.
Great, thank you for that kind introduction. I am, as Mia mentioned, a dietitian here in Bozeman, Montana. I work at a nonprofit that partners with a food bank here. And I am in charge of the childhood nutrition programs, one of them being summer lunch. So under the Gallatin Valley Food Bank, we offer a program during the summer months called the Kids Summer Lunch Program. A little bit of background about Bozeman is it is around 56,000 residents, and it's considered one of the fastest growing micropolitan areas in the country. We have quite a few schools in our area. We have 8 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 2 high schools, with around 7,300 students in all of those schools. Bozeman is a unique county in that there is a huge income variability within our community. We are right next to a very large and luxurious ski resort known as Big Sky. And so we get a lot of tourism and a lot of outside individuals coming into our community that sort of disrupts the income variability in our county. And so we see a lower free and reduced eligibility that varies between all of the schools. Each school is pretty different in its income eligibility for free and reduced meals, but the average is around 21%. I am new to this position. This is actually my second summer that I'll be going into, but I had the pleasure of being an intern for the summer lunch program during my undergrad years at MSU. And this past summer, the summer of 2023, was our busiest year ever in the program's around 11-year history. We served 34,000 meals over the 11-week period, which averages out to around 600 meals a day. And we have 6 to 7 sites around our community. This varies yearly based on the eligibility guidelines for each site and sort of how our community is shifting in terms of movement and the average income of that area. Next slide. So we operate non-congregate open meal sites around our community. We serve at a lot of parks, elementary schools, and then we also have sites at like the Bozeman Public Library and then the Gallatin Valley Food Bank as well. We have a 2-week cycle menu, so it repeats every other week. And so here is a sample from last year. So each Monday and each Monday, the breakfast item will be the same for every day of the week. So for example, we usually start off with like a granola bar, string cheese, juice, and milk. And then for lunch, it'll vary. So on Mondays, we do a ham and cheese sandwich or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And something that my predecessor started for this program and something that I'm really proud to continue is the variability that we offer amongst our menu. It's really different than what individuals might see at like a K through 12 food service operation. And we use a lot of local produce. And we also believe firmly in introducing foods to kiddos that they might not have the chance to otherwise try. We do offer menu items that kiddos are familiar with and they like a PB&J, but we like to add a personal touch to that by like making our own jelly, and we use raw peanuts and grind the peanut butter ourselves. We also have items that a child maybe has not tried before. So on Wednesdays, you can see one of our menu items is peanut noodles. And we do things like tofu and edamame in those dishes. And I think research suggests that a child needs to be exposed to something upwards of around 40 times before they are willing to take a few bites of it and try it and add it comfortably into their palate. And so I like to tell families and stakeholders in this program that by the beginning of the summer, a kiddo may be totally unfamiliar with tofu. Or, for example, one of our other menu items are lentil pizza roll-ups. And so they might not know what a lentil is. They might be grossed out by it. They might not even touch it. But by the end of the summer, if they continually participate in the summer lunch program, they become familiar with each item and they recognize it each week. And so maybe by July, they're willing to take a couple bites of it. And by August, maybe they have a new food. And I believe strongly in keeping menu items on our menu that are a little bit out there and a little bit different, because if a family is working with a limited food budget, it is suggested that for each child during the summer months, food costs for a family can increase $300 per child per month. So if you have 3 children during the summer, that's $900 of extra food per month that you are expected to purchase, since you cannot rely on a school food service program. And so if you're working with a limited budget, you might not be able to purchase things that your child isn't familiar with, and you know that maybe they won't eat the first time, something like tofu, and you're going to be more limited in the choices that you make. And so by offering items that are free and coincide with items that a child is familiar with, they can maybe expand their palate in a way that exposes them to some really nutrient-dense foods that are fun and can introduce some new flavors and help develop their palate as well. Next slide. And then I just have some fun photos of years past. So at the bottom left hand, you can see we're at one of our meal sites, which is a park here in Bozeman. And we load up milk crates with all of the like dry goods that are stored in paper bags. So things like granola bars, shelf-stable milk, a fruit item. And we have volunteers who, I have to say, our volunteers at the summer lunch program are one of the best. We have volunteers that come every summer and are there every single day helping us serve meals to kiddos. And so they pick up all the supplies from us here at our central kitchen, and then they take them in milk crates, and then all of the cold items go in coolers and they bring them to the site. And then they serve them to kiddos, rain or shine. So this site is pretty lucky that it has a sort of pavilion, because we just got a bunch of snow here in Bozeman, so you never know what's going to happen with the weather here. Right above that is our lentil pizza burritos that are being prepped. We have a great summer lunch team, and we have a chef from Head Start that comes back every summer, and she is instrumental in our programming. Something about our menu is that it's cold 4 out of the 5 days, and then on Thursdays we have a hot menu item. So in this case, it's the lentil pizza roll-ups. Then on the other Thursday, we do burritos as well. And then the last picture on your right-hand side is actually a picture when I was in undergrad and an intern for the summer lunch program. And here we are prepping some of our veggie wraps, which we make the hummus, which is kind of the orange spread there, out of sweet potatoes. And then we blend it up ourselves. And then we've got some good local veggies from a producer here in Bozeman. And that's a menu item that is always fun to make, very colorful, and then very fun to see the kiddos enjoy it and have something that was locally produced here.
Thank you so much, Olivia, for sharing all of your wonderful knowledge. We appreciate it so much. And honestly, those veggie wraps looked delicious. So I am going to turn it over to Silka now, who's going to share a little bit more about her food service program and their summer meal operations.
Hello, everyone. My name is Silka West. I'm with Sinton ISD. That's about 30 miles northwest of Corpus Christi, Texas. So in the Gulf Coast area here in Texas. I've been in this district about 7 years now, but I've lived in the area for close to 16 years, and I've learned so much about our community. We are a very small rural community. And if we could, let's go to the next slide. Thank you. So a little more than 5,500 people in our community. Our district is about 5 campuses, and that is about a little more than 2,000 students. We do have a high free and reduced percentage, and we are a community eligibility provision district. We operate one summer site historically, and on and off, we have tried to open a second site because our community is very unique in that we have a railroad track that runs through the middle of the community. So if you've lived here long enough, some people just don't want to go past the railroad track to go to the other side of town. But unfortunately, it doesn't matter if we have one site or 2 sites. Our summer meal participation is low. And we've looked at several different variables as to why it's low. One thing we have learned is that it is our same households in need that do participate consistently in our summer meal program. So we don't have a large breakfast or large lunch participation, but we know that we're reaching those households that are very consistently coming to summer meals. And what I love about the picture that you see here, and something Olivia mentioned about volunteers, and they're very fortunate to have volunteers. We have our state troopers that like to come volunteer from time to time. Their schedule does not always allow it, but in this photo, you can see our state troopers volunteering at our curbside meal service. So next slide, please. I wanted to provide you a little glimpse into our summer breakfast and lunch menu, and this one's our summer breakfast menu, just a small glimpse of it. It shows the menu that we do at the curbside, but also when we did non-congregate meals and we did weekend meals, you'll see our Friday, Saturday, and Sunday meal packages as well. What we've learned about our students is they are not heavy breakfast eaters, whether it's the regular school year or whether it's the summer meal program. They like their shelf-stable sweets breakfast, really. They will from time to time eat a hot breakfast, but that's more during the school year. During the summer, I believe our students really look at breakfast more as a treat because they don't want to get up early and they're not really hungry for a hot breakfast. So their favorites are what you see here on the menu: our muffins, our cinnamon rolls, donuts, Pop-Tarts, cereal bars, and of course cereal. So next slide, please. This is an example of our non-congregate summer lunch menu. Here in Sinton, one of our traditions and a requirement of our food service program is that when we're serving meals to our students, we always are required and asked to provide a hot meal. During the regular school year, we have plenty of other choices for the students. And during the summer meal program, when we do curbside, we do provide a hot meal. And then when we were doing weekend packages, You can see here on the screen, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday weekend packages were more shelf stable. And as we learned more and more about the non-congregate meal service, we even introduced an IW microwave pizza that we provided instructions for households to be able to know how to handle that food when they took it home. But you can see here, our kids do love a wide variety of things. They love some of their favorites, and we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But here in Sinton, Wednesdays are burger day. That is a tradition. So every Wednesday, our students get a burger. Our kids absolutely love pizza, so we try to have pizza on the menu, which is not reflected in this one here. But we do have a wide variety. One of the things we've learned about our students is that when we want them to try something new, they're willing to do it. And I primarily mean an entree. If we want them to try a new entree, they're willing to do it, but they don't want us to replace their tried and true favorite entrees. So it's a bit tricky. So what we have learned to do here to get student participation in something new is we tie it to a promotion. So we look at national food holidays and we're like, okay, we really want to try this. Let's do it on, I don't know, National Pancake Day or National Chicken Day or something like that. And we'll infuse in a new entree. So that's a little bit of how we do our menus here. If we could go to the next slide, please. I really want to share this with you. For Sinton ISD, what we learned was to know where to hold steady on our menu, know what our students love, what is tried and true with them, and what they're actually going to eat, because nutrition is only nutrition once consumed. If we put it on a plate and they don't ever take that food into their bodies, they are not properly nourished. So we have learned that we really need to pay attention to our students, but we love to have fun with our menus. So we do a lot of promotions, even during our summer meals, and we try to infuse fun things. So one thing we've done is called Food Fusion Fridays, because we know food mashup, food fusion is huge with children nowadays. So we use Food Fusion Fridays, and we also call it Fun Food Fridays. It has so many different nicknames. We also call it Farm Fresh Fusion Fridays. Our kids just love to try and repeat what we're trying to call Friday. But on the screen here, you can see some of our fun fusion items that we incorporated, like corn cucumber salad, and this used sweet corn that was locally grown. Our honey basil fruit cups with green grapes and fresh strawberries. The basil is also a local grown microgreen just about 20 miles from us. Watermelon radish salads. We weren't sure how our students would take to this, but they absolutely loved it. It was served with a sesame vinaigrette, and they really loved the pairing. The watermelon radishes and the lettuce here is a crisp lettuce. Both of those items are from Texas, so we consider that local for us. And then the strawberry citrus salsa was a huge hit, and we served that with the individual bag Tostito cups, and it was fresh strawberries with local grown local grown cilantro. And then it had different bell peppers. And you can see from the picture, we like to stage our food when we do something fun. And although this is staged inside, when we did curbside, we actually had our maintenance department build us a small little, kind of like a little bitty farmer market stand. And we would stage some of this stuff for the parents and the kids as they drove by so they could see it. And then our mixed melon cups were a huge hit as well. So that's a little bit about our menus here in Sinton ISD, our experience in curbside and trying to increase participation. We do that through innovation, but also listening to our students and staying with what's tried and true. So we keep the tried and true entrees and we have fun with the sides. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Silka. And I'm so glad I ate lunch before this because all of y'all's pictures are really making me hungry. I'm going to turn it over to Rachel Jones, who is with the Farm to School of Park County, Montana. Oh, and you're muted, Rachel.
Great. Thanks, Mia, and thanks to No Kid Hungry for hosting this super important topic as one of your webinars. As Mia said, my name is Rachel Jones. I'm the founding executive director for Farm School of Park County. And if you could move to the next slide, that would be great. I just wanted to let you know that I also live in Montana, so I'm just 23 miles away from Olivia over a mountain pass. So our communities are very, very different. Yes, I do neighbor the real Yellowstone County or country. And the Yellowstone River even flows right through our town. It's not like you see on the popular television show. But it is a very beautiful place. We have a very strong agricultural community here. Specifically today, I'm going to be talking about the Livingston School District and the Livingston community. That's one of the schools that we partner with throughout Park County. And in this district, covers usually right around 1,400 kids are enrolled. Right now, we're just a little bit below that. The free and reduced eligibility rate is about 43%. And over the summertime, currently we have 7 sites. We're gearing up for 7 sites this year. Next slide, please. So a little bit about Farm School of Park County. We're a nonprofit organization. We partner with public schools throughout Park County. We have 7 schools right now that we work with in 4 different districts. We are independent from the school districts. And also we guide them. We guide all of the communities and the schools in building those prosperous and equitable local food cultures. I'm sure that all of you attending are aware of the core elements of Farm to School organizations across the country. And if Farm to School is a new concept to you, I highly encourage you to look into it for your schools and communities. Next, thanks. I wanted to give a little bit of a timeline. I'm not going to run through all of this, but I wanted to let you know that summer lunch in the park has been an ongoing and evolving project in our community over the years. We've had our fair share of tragedies, and you know, being that we're in such a rural community and with economic disparities, so not dissimilar from what Olivia described in Bozeman, there has been, starting in about 2018, a really strong collective impact initiative that brought together schools and community organizations to support our community members in new and creative ways. One of the results was that summer meals expanded, and I'm just so happy that it's been continuing to evolve and meet the needs of the community ever since. Next slide, please. Okay, so currently you can see on this little map here that we have 7 sites. One of those is based at a school. One is actually based at a public museum. And then we have 5 city parks where we host summer meals as well. There are about 8,600 meals served last year. And actually with non-congregate, we're expecting to increase that upwards of 10,000 for this year. Next slide, please. One of the key factors for success for us in Livingston are the partnerships. I think partnerships just spread the burden and spread the opportunity so much. So first of all, the Livingston School District is a fantastic sponsor, and they really, you know, just take the lead on making sure that the community is aware and that everyone comes together to get those needs met. Again, the Livingston Food Resource Center is a sponsor, or is a supporter. They provide an additional kitchen where they make meals, and they assist with menu development, and they even provide delivery to 3 of the sites. The city of Livingston has been incredibly helpful. Not only do they provide like the site prep and make sure that all of the parks are comfortable and welcoming for kids and families, but they also help out a lot with outreach, education, co-alignment with summer camp programming, and and all kinds of other things. We at Farm to School Park County provide vehicles. We've been guiding the menu development over the years. We'll talk about that again in a second. The local food procurement support comes to them through our farms and gardens that we operate over the summertime. We make sure that we incorporate as much fresh local food as possible. And then again, because of our nonprofit status, we're able to do more fundraising and outreach, education, and all of that timely and time-consuming partnership management on behalf of the program. A few photos. I wanted to make sure that you see that the garden's in action. Community partners help out with delivery of the foods. And then with this orange arrow pointing down low, you can see that we have signage at all of the sites. So even though our sites are only open for a few weeks of the year, we are beginning to establish that year-round awareness that the meal program is happening on those locations. Next slide. Okay, so I had a quiz for you. I was hoping that you could take a second and think about which ones of these meals are summer meals and which ones might be school meals. I think it's pretty obvious that the one in the middle is a summer meal. And spoiler alert, it is a trick question. These are all summer meals. Okay, next slide. And really the strategy that we take in Livingston is to extend summer meals, extend the school meals strategies into summertime, right? So through our partnership with schools, we provide all kinds of cafeteria taste tests. So we, just like Silke was mentioning, we know which recipes are tried and true and which recipes are kid tested, kid approved, and which ones should remain on menus time and time again. We also provide quite a bit of garden enhanced nutrition education to especially pre-K through 5th grade students. We find that the more children know where their food comes from, and especially if they have grown it, they're much more likely to try it. We also provide assistance with summer programs that take advantage of the meal programs throughout the summer. We incorporate Montana Harvest of the Month as much as possible. Again, that's another curriculum that we share, so more recognition with the summer meal program, and the school meals just creates more connections with kids. And then right now, we actually have our annual school food survey open. And so that is another way where we assess student interest in various meals, and it gives us an opportunity to ask families and caregivers and children what they want to see in their meal programs. Okay, next slide, please. We don't actually use menus. We only use themes. There's a few reasons for that. You can see the themes there: mac and cheese on Mondays, Festival Tuesdays, Asian fusion on Wednesdays, Italian inspired Thursdays, and Adventure Fridays, which is basically chef's choice. That gives our kitchens and the various staffs ability to be more flexible. We do use a 2-week recipe cycle. And so the participants will see recurring recipes throughout the summer. And slightly dissimilar from Olivia, we actually prioritize hot meals, and then we have one cold meal throughout the year, or throughout the week. Again, farm fresh produce is key, we think, in attracting families and attracting children to the program. If you could go to the next slide, please. Here's a few photos of that process in action. The summer programs at our downtown school and community farm. You can see an image here where children are washing carrots that are likely going into the summer meal program. And then in the kitchen, you can see the kitchen staff working together to get those vegetables prepped in the central kitchen for the school district, and then ultimately into, and these look like non-congregate chef salads for that day. Next slide, please. One thing I wanted to make sure that you are all aware of and thinking about is the congregate versus non-congregate question. It's a big one right now, isn't it? Right, for this school year, excuse me, for this summer coming up, we are looking at offering both models at all of our sites. And the purpose of that is to assess which service models work best and just continue to meet the needs of the community in the best way possible. Great. Next slide. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Rachel. We're going to move into the next portion of our call, which is Q&A. We do have some questions already in the Q&A box, but please take a moment if you have any questions to enter them there. One of the things that I really love that a lot of you all mention is talking about kid tested recipes, right? What are some recipes that you guys know that kids really love? And so I just wanted to hear more about that from each of you. Like, how do you get feedback from kids to make sure that the recipes that you're offering in the summer are going to do really well? And I'll let Olivia kick it off. If you have anything to say, I don't want to put you on the spot.
Perfect, thank you. So like I mentioned, we have food items that are very familiar to kiddos and that they are probably have seen and had multiple times, like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or a ham and cheese sandwich. But then we also offer menu items that are a little bit more out there. We also partner with a plethora of camps in the area. So a lot of times a camp will come to our central kitchen and pick up meals and then take them to their camps and serve them there. And that's probably how we get the best immediate feedback, is when a camp counselor comes back to bring us our meal counts and our supplies, is that they can express how their kiddos reacted to a certain meal. I think that a lot of times older individuals can bring in a lot of food biases when offering kids food. They might see green pasta and be like, well, that's not a kid-friendly menu item. And like, kids like mac and cheese and chicken nuggets and these items, and so this is what they're going to eat. And so sometimes I do have to have a conversation that is like, this is why we are offering these items. This is something that we believe strongly in. And then they're usually able to take that feedback and then encourage kiddos to try things. I have to say that sometimes, like in the beginning of the summer, we do receive a little bit of pushback for like our pesto pasta, but by the end of the summer, I recall last summer specifically having to bring extras to a multitude of sites because we have ran out of all of the entrees that we serve, and that kids are eating it and they're enjoying it. And so I think sort of operating on a longer game schedule and taking what feedback we have at the end of the summer is applicable going into the next one as well.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Silke, did you want to go next?
Sure. Here in Sinton, we use a variety of tools and resources to collect feedback. It depends on our audience. If we're trying to collect feedback, well, we're always collecting feedback from students, but there are times where we also need to collect feedback from parents. We use different strategies depending on the moment in time in the event. So we use Google Forms, so surveys in Google. We use that during structured time. So if they're face-to-face and they have a computer lab, we provide them, the students, a link. So for example, if they're face-to-face meal services, they would get a link, and during computer lab or during one of their classes, with campus principal permission, they have an opportunity to complete that. We also do QR codes with our high school students, and that gets us, for example, we have a high school with 600 kids enrolled, and we got 498 survey feedbacks that's great participation for high school. And we have found that QR codes is the way to do it. And our principal there at the high school allows students to have their phones on them during meal services. So that works perfect for us. So we post posters all around at our meal stations, at curbside, depending on where the event, when the occasion is, and we do QR codes. We also do QR codes when we do promotions where parents might be visible. We do paper surveys sometimes to the smaller, younger students. When we did curbside, we did a paper survey with a QR code, and that worked really well. So we use Google Form surveys, we use QR code surveys, we use paper surveys that have like the smiley faces, or paper surveys that have actual questions. We always have precise questions, and then we have open-ended questions to be able to collect what we are not trying to collect and hear what our customers say. And that's where we've learned to fine tune our menus. And that's also where we learned what our students are more open, when they're more open to explore versus don't mess with their favorites. They want their favorites.
Yeah, thanks, Silke. And Rachel, do you have anything to add? Oh, and you're on mute.
Hi. I would just add that I think it's important that anyone thinking about starting a summer meal program or already doing that, that you realize that you're not going to please everyone, right? There's a lot of different preferences out there. And I think Olivia is absolutely right in the amount of times that you can offer various items and ingredients, the more likely kids are to try them and also like them. I would say that just like Silke mentioned, like gathering as much data as you can, the qualitative, the quantitative data, and then looking at that regularly and over a period of time will show you the trends and will show you potential, program improvements for the future. And then the only other thing that I would say is make sure that your staff is really positively promoting and engaging positively with the participants. And we find that that really friendly and positive engagement does impact participation in a good way.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. Another question that came in, and I think this might be a really good question for you, Rachel, since you talked about running kind of congregate and non-congregate alongside each other. How do you kind of ensure compliance around that? How do you make sure that only one meal per student, or if you're doing bulk, obviously, the allotted bulk meals are served to one student per visit, essentially, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's really easy to overcomplicate the regulations in our minds. And it's pretty obvious when a participant chooses to sit and enjoy their meal there, you see that happening. And then if, we do allow also participants to pick up multiple meals at a time. Generally, people aren't trying to game the system. And, I think that just having, building that community trust and reputation and pride around the programming, we haven't seen any particular issues with that.
Yeah, feel free to chime in, Silke.
I did want to share, it does depend on your district size, but we did come up with a best practice when we had both congregate and non-congregate. We do use our point of sale system. I do recognize we're a smaller district. For a large scale district, that may be difficult to do. We had surveyed our families ahead of time, so we knew who was typically going to participate, and we did a whole kind of pre-enrollment in non-congregate. And we issued tickets to the households, which were actually an 8.5 by 11 page that was inside a page protector, and we issued that. But the reason why I mentioned that is because we ran our point of sale system so that it would alert us if a student was face-to-face getting a meal versus a student or a household trying to collect a meal on non-congregate. We did go through a Texas Department of Agriculture with that exact scenario, face-to-face and non-congregate, and our system did very, very well. So I just wanted to share that because that is an option. And then I'm always asked when I share that option, how do you handle those community students? When we did the pre-enrollment and we knew that we were going to have students that were not from our community, but they were going to be in our community during the summer and they were going to want meals, we did a temporary ID for them in our system. And so we expired all those IDs, of course, right prior to school starting. But that really helped us because we did have children from other communities that were going to come stay with grandma in Sinton over the summer and then come participate on our curbside meal service. So I just wanted to share that as an option.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Olivia, did you have anything to add? Totally okay if not.
I really appreciate Rachel's feedback for operating both. As I'm sure you know, Rachel, we do all of our reimbursement through the Office of Public Instruction. And so we had our applications actually that are due today for the 2024 meal service. And I think that Montana OPI specifically is really sort of cracking down on what is allowed during non-congregate meal service. And there, I think, is a little apprehension with the idea that someone could go from one meal site to another and get as many meals and sort of cheat the system, as Rachel said. And I know that that was a little bit frustrating for myself and my other partners here at the food bank, just because we pride ourselves in operating a very unbiased program that is open to everyone. There's no income guidelines. Anyone under the age of 18 can come and enjoy a meal during the summer. And it's also an anonymous program. And we really aim to reduce sort of any shame that might be felt when seeking help. And we also offer seconds to participants. We usually just use the phrasing, if you would like seconds, can you come back in the last 10-15 minutes of lunch service to get your seconds, so that way we ensure that everyone has eaten. And I think that sometimes when you have a government agency coming in and making recommendations for your program, it's important to step back and think, does this align with our summer lunch program, and does this fit our values, and how can we maybe adjust to better serve our community?
Yeah, thanks, Olivia. I just want to remind participants that we have about 10 minutes left. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box now. One of the things that someone did ask, though, was how do you utilize social media to promote your menu items? I know, Silka, you talked a little bit about staging your items. Can you kick us off?
Sure, we use social media a few different ways. Whatever we tend to post has to be filtered through our district. So that's just our public communication policy. So we have the district website that we utilize. The district also posts to Facebook and Instagram. So our department creates the Canva for it, and we share that with the district, and they'll push out through the appropriate channel whatever we would like displayed on our website, shared on Facebook or shared on Instagram. That's the primary way that we do it here. We use a lot of photos. If we do events, we just did a huge nutrition education event on Friday, and we did tons of photos, and we try to push those photos out because we know families, children eat with their eyes. We all do. And so we really try to share a lot of photos, and then just like short taglines as to what the event was or what the menu item was, what day it was served, if it was a promotion. So we spend a lot of effort in promoting, especially those unique, fun things that we do with our kids, so that parents and families do get to see the different activities that we do, whether it's nutrition education and outreach or menus and menu development.
Yeah, thank you for that. Olivia, did you want to chime in?
So We are very blessed with our summer lunch program operating under the nonprofit of HRDC and the Gallatin Valley Food Bank, because we have an amazing social media coordinator that I can just send photos to, and she will run them through Canva and add like a cute border and font and then post them to our social media. And so I don't have to worry about it, and I am grateful for that.
I hear you. I love Canva. I feel like everyone uses it, but it can be really time consuming. Rachel, go ahead.
I think we're somewhere in the middle of the two. I do not have a marketing department. Wouldn't that be nice? But we do a lot of social media. We partner with the school, of course, and so you know, like leveraging social media channels and pages so that there can be quite a bit of sharing going on. We're just doing lots of promotions, both proactively and retroactively. There's a joke in our community that we have the most photogenic nonprofit in town, and I don't disagree. Happy kids during the summertime eating beautiful meals, and then showing off those trays, you know, those trays that I showed during the slides. Those are actual meals being eaten by actual kids. So letting the program speak for itself. And yeah, I think that, you know, social media in our community is where family members and parents go a lot for information. And so I would not underestimate the value of continuing to bounce up that information on a regular basis about where and when and any changes that have been made throughout the program season.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. One of the questions that came through on the chat too is how many staff do you have working in the summertime? And particularly, I think for you, Silka, being a school district, how do you incentivize or motivate your staff to show up in the summer, especially after a really long school year?
That is a great question. I've been here 7 years. And honestly, after the pandemic, the summer after 2 years of pandemic was the first summer I had challenges with staff having the energy wanting to work. They were just exhausted. I did pull a meeting together with all the managers, and I visited with them and stated what the purpose of the summer meal program, what our purpose is as a support service for the district, and that if we didn't rise up and stand up and do this, who would do this for our children? And, you know, I'm very grateful that my team stepped up and found the energy, and I just made sure they were well supported, working aside them, making sure they knew they were appreciated, and got them through that summer. They were exhausted. And then we have not had, like last summer, we had absolutely no problem with people signing up to want to work. We don't mandate it. We do ask people to sign up. I do have a responsibility to make sure they're certified food managers. And then we have others. And again, we have more people signing up this summer than we have had in the past. But I've only seen that happen once in my tenure here so far. And it was concerning because I knew they were tired. I knew our staff was tired and exhausted, but it's very challenging because not a lot of people understand the world of food service, but they need our service, and the students need these meals. And I think once our team believes in what they do and feels supported, then they will rise up. It may not be the same people every year. They may want to change off, but we try to provide them that opportunity to do that so everybody gets a break.
Rachel or Olivia, anything to add?
So last summer and summers prior, we usually use around 3 part-time interns that are helping us Monday through Friday. Then I also have a full-time cook from Head Start come and help during the summer when Head Start is not in session. And then we have a large volunteer base. I would say usually during the summer, we're working with around 100 regular volunteers that are helping with production and then service as well.
We're scaled down slightly and just a slightly different configuration. We also have interns. We have multiple kitchens with multiple community organizations making the food. The school staff, you know, I think Silky's like 100% nailing it when she says that the staff is so tired by the end of the year. I don't think that that's unique to any place. But we have been able to provide bonuses and flexible schedules and different types of incentives to retain employment throughout the summertime. The having these support kitchens with community members, and then also staffing and bringing in volunteers to help with especially fresh food processing and incorporation just seems to bring levity and a new energy into the program and into those kitchen spaces. And yeah, I should think that it's a lot of fun, right? We also, because these are classified positions with the school district in particular, there are teachers and support staff of all types that are oftentimes looking for summer work anyways. So we've been able to bring them into the fold. And again, as we continue to grow that culture of health and wellness and pride around school food, we're seeing that there are more and more folks that want to be part of it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I know we only have a couple more minutes left, so I have a fun question that I've been thinking about since you guys mentioned it. I know Rachel and Silka, you both mentioned themes, utilizing food holidays like Hamburger Day. Would just love to hear from you all quickly. What is your favorite themed day that you all have had? You know, it could be your favorite because it was really fun and you made it celebratory, or perhaps just because participation was really high that day. But I'd love to hear from all of you what your favorite themed day was.
Sure, that's easy for me. It's the mac and cheese on Mondays. We oftentimes puree carrots or butternut squash into those recipes, and it is so good. I love eating that lunch and pairing that with a nice fresh salad from the gardens. It's a lot of fun, and everyone loves it. That's also happens to be one of our most popular harvest of the month or farm to school recipes that's being served in the school meal program on a regular basis.
Olivia or Silka? Oh, go ahead.
I have to say my favorite day of summer lunch is the last day, because we actually, not because it's over, but because we partner with our Pay What You Can restaurant that operates under HRDC as well. And they make us pizzas every last day of summer lunch, and we serve pizza to all of our kiddos. And then we usually have a local ice cream place donate ice cream, and that always has the highest participation because everybody loves a good August slice of pizza and cool ice cream afterwards.
And Silka?
One of our favorites during the summer is Christmas in July. So we typically sometimes have some leftover items from like our Thanksgiving or Christmas meals. So we do the classic turkey at Thanksgiving. We also do tamales for Christmas during the school year. So sometimes you have those odds and ends, and this is a great way to save money in the summer meal program is we use existing inventory before we purchase, and we get really creative with it. And so Christmas in July is one of our fun ones. We play Christmas music, we serve Christmas desserts, we have different Christmas entrees, pulling together what we have, and we dress in Christmas attire, and it's hot around here, so we make it lightweight Christmas attire. But that's in July, and we have a lot of fun with that, and that helps us close out some of our odds and ends inventory.
Yeah, I love that so much. We did have actually a last minute question come into the chat, so I'm going to go, and this will actually be the last question. But could you all share what your average cost per meal is? Feel free to jump in, anyone who knows.
I do not know specifically. I believe that it is around the reimbursement rate for breakfast and lunch that is set by the Office of Public Instruction in Montana. I think that that cost is pretty low, and it has a lot of barriers, but I think partnering with local producers of certain produce items and then also being really flexible with like what you're purchasing. Is it seasonal? And then being able to go to several different retailers. I frequently shop from Cisco, local producers, and then also would make a weekly trip to like Costco, keeps that under the reimbursement rate.
Yeah, it's important for our schools and partners to stay right at that reimbursement rate also. We, just like Olivia said, we really seek out a tremendous amount of in-kind and food donations to make that possible. The food that Farm School of Park County grows for the school districts is also provided at a very reduced rate to schools to encourage utilization of that in their meal programs.
Great.
For our meal costs for the summer meal program, we're a little more than $2. I think we're close to $2.11 per breakfast and right about $3.09 to $3.15 for lunch. We use a lot because we are a school district that is operating the summer program. We use a lot of our existing inventory. We utilize USDA foods to the maximum extent possible and then try to get very creative. So that is something we do. We also usually reserve a little bit for those of you who diversify your portfolio that have access to DoD funds. We usually hold on to just a little bit of DoD funds to be able to use those funds to do fresh. So like right now we have $299 left of our NSLP DoD funds that we were planning to reserve for DoD fresh, but in the state of Texas, they're just announcing that they may have some funds for DoD fresh. So that could help us even further. So we try to maximize everything that we have already existing in inventory, look at it, see how we can get creative with the menu items. We do not receive any donations, so it is really up to us to try and balance our budget between, of course, our top two cost categories, food and labor.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all so much for your insight and for being here with us today. A couple just in things before you all hop off. We do want you to stay in touch. Feel free to subscribe to our best practices newsletter. That's where you'll hear information about webinars like this one and also just a lot of other great resources. And you can also visit our best practices website as well. And your feedback is appreciated. At the end of this webinar, a 5-question survey will open up in your browser window. Please take a moment to complete it. That's where we get really good ideas about webinars like this one around recipes and menu planning and a lot more. And thank you so much for attending. If you have any questions, feel free to leave us some feedback.